I'll move House File 44 before the committee for discussion. Representative Feist.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am Sandra Feist. I represent District 39B, and I am excited to be here today to present the menstrual equity bill to this committee. Just as a preliminary note, I just want to mention that this bill is fun. Not all legislation is fun and collaborative and exciting, although I love all my bills equally. But I just want to mention that just working with students has been really special, and I want to thank ELIF, who I'll talk about in a minute, as well as the National Council of Jewish Women Minnesota, who have been really active around period poverty and have really been a great collaborator on this bill. This issue of period poverty came to my attention because Elif, a high school student who will introduce herself in a moment, emailed me articles and data and anecdotes talking about the impact of period poverty on students' ability to really get a full education in Minnesota. She inspired me and educated me, and I decided that we needed to get this done. Period poverty is a widespread issue that directly impacts students' ability to get a full education. 1 out of every 10 menstruating youth miss school because their menstrual cycle, or during their menstrual cycle, due to a lack of access to menstrual products and resources. This absenteeism impacts educational attainment directly and indirectly through its correlation with increased depression and anxiety. This bill requires that schools provide period products in bathrooms for students grades 4 through 12 and is funded through an increase of $2 per pupil in the operating capital revenue. And I have a fancy chart that Tim Strom shared with me, so if people have more specific questions about that, we can definitely talk about how we came to that number. I'd like to direct your attention to some quotes from materials submitted by students and school nurses, youth workers in your materials today. One youth worker talked about menstrual products being like soap and toilet paper to students. A rural educator talked about the impact of period poverty on piling up absences. Multiple statements in your materials today talked about period products as a necessity. Multiple personal stories are included in your materials about their students talking about themselves, their friends, and their relatives. One student talked about being able to feel comfortable and focused when they had access to period products. Another student talked about how this relieves stress. One student talked about how they feel safer, cared for, and respected when they were provided these products that they needed in order to learn. School nurses talked about students being stranded without these products, about how providing these products is educational in the sense that we are informing students about the natural bodily functions and their health needs. They talked about how it keeps kids in school and that period products are basic health supplies. This is Education Finance Committee, so I will end with the point that this is a wise investment. Since helping students who regularly miss school catch up is more complicated and expensive than proactively ensuring that they don't miss class due to period poverty. Notably, the cost impacts schools' ability to serve all students. Providing these products openly has the added benefit of normalizing conversations around periods to reduce the shame and stigma attached to this normal bodily function that impacts a full half of the human population. We ensure that students have toilet paper, paper towels, soap, and Band-Aids. We should ensure that students have period products as well. And I will turn it to my testifiers.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee, for giving me this opportunity to speak today. My name is Elif Öztürk, and I'm a junior at Hopkins High School. The first time that I truly became aware of the toll that a period takes on a young girl in school was during my 8th grade. Each and every day that I went to the girls' bathroom, I would hear whispers asking friends for products. I could feel the heightened stress caused by that time of the month. What truly frustrated me, though, was the fact that I had friends who didn't just forget their products, but couldn't afford them in the first place. I had friends whose parents couldn't give them access to this luxury product. I had friends who decided to just skip school during that time because we cannot learn when we are leaking. I thought to myself, how is this fair? How do we expect our students to carry this burden on them throughout the school day and still perform well? My number one priority should be to learn, not to find a pad. So I can no longer be complacent with this injustice. During the fall of my 9th grade, I emailed various representatives, hoping they too would see my perspective on this. I received an excited response from Representative Feist and began working with her. Later, we teamed with NCJW and decided on the language. This is a low-cost effort that would help so many lives from having to miss out on their right to an education. Lives like mine, lives like your children, and lives like your grandchildren. Tampons and pads aren't optional. They are necessities. They hold the same purpose as toilet paper, which is always free for use. Yet these products are not so readily available within the walls of our schools. Why is that when they make the difference between a normal day and a traumatic one? Period poverty within schools is impeding on our students' education and the right to be respected as human beings. It is time to finally provide this one product that will allow us to peacefully go through the school day. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony. Next up, we have Tori Robarge, and then on deck, Evelyn Gore. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Tori Robarge. Myself and Evelyn Gore, as you just heard, were both part of a group of student advocates at Egan High School. As a part of our research for our school, we wrote and administered a menstruation-based survey, and we presented that to our student body at Egan High School. We found overwhelming support for the addition of free products. When asked if there had ever been a time when they didn't have access to a product, 195 students offered us with answers. 66% said that they didn't want to miss class by going to the nurse's office. 35% said that their teacher wouldn't let them go. 18% said that they did not have the money to give to the nurse, who was paying out of pocket for the products. 43% said that they were too scared or too embarrassed to go and talk to the nurse personally. Almost 1 in 10 Americans have missed school due to a lack of period products. Hundreds of thousands of people are missing out on critical opportunities, like an equal, well-deserved education. We expect that due to these boxes, we will see an increase in attendance. People that don't regularly have access to these products at home don't have to be fearful of being unclean or insecure about a lack of hygiene that's out of their control. By providing these products inside of the bathrooms, we are not only keeping students in the building, we are keeping them in their seats. Period poverty is not a political issue. It is not a way to impose power over school districts or to question their ability to make their own decisions. Period poverty is a health issue and it is an equity issue. Once more, I am urging you to understand the fact that the students of this state will be immeasurably grateful for the decision that you've made with them in mind. While student advocacy is an incredibly vital part of the education system, it should be noted that every single kid in our school should have the same ultimate goal: to learn. What is it that we're teaching these menstruating students when we deny them the right to accessible and necessary hygiene tools? Do they learn that their non-menstruating counterparts have the ability to focus solely on the present, never wondering how the state of the restroom could affect the rest of their day? Do we teach them that fighting tirelessly for their own emotional and physical well-being is a great chance to practice their public speaking, or that it's an amazing resume builder? Or do we show them that at the end of the day, there will always be another obstacle in the way to their path for an equitable education? These students will be grateful not only for access to products, not only for the chance to maintain an equal education with their peers, but also for the work that is being done to normalize an uncontrollable bodily function. They will take a moment to breathe because that's one less thing they need to worry about in the swirl of madness that is adolescence. Period poverty is not something that can be disagreed with. Period poverty is indisputable and your students need you.
Thank you. And members, we're going to have our first remote testimony with Evelyn Gore.
Hi, thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Evelyn Gore, and I graduated last year from Egan High School as the leaders who worked to end period poverty in District 196. The District 196 Period Poverty Project initially started out through an Honors 10 speech class, where we were given the task to present a group speech about a topic that we were passionate about. In an all-female group, we found common ground with the issue of period poverty. As we spent more time researching, our passion grew. Within minutes, we were emailing our superintendent, Mary Krieger, and inviting her to come and watch our class presentation. After partnering up with our Women's Empowerment Club, speaking at several school board meetings, and surveying our own school body, District 196 awarded us a $10,000 grant. This grant tangibly allowed us to actually make a difference. Today in District 196, you can find free tampons and pads in the gender-neutral, women's, and at least one men's bathroom for every school. While our story is seen as a success story, this equity needs to be brought to the rest of the students of Minnesota. It's not fair to assume that other districts can do what District 196 has done. My district is very fortunate to have the resources that other areas of the state do not have. And frankly, even if that wasn't the case, this shouldn't have been something that I even had to do. Although I am glad we started this period poverty project and thankful for all of our supporters, as a teenager in high school, this isn't something that I should have had to fight for in the first place. And that is why this district mandate is so important. When I first started this project, I was 15. And as a 15-year-old, I shouldn't have had to worry about solving period poverty. As a 15-year-old, I shouldn't be worried about my next chemistry exam or whether or not my friends were in the same lunch as me, not whether or not the world around me cares enough about students like me to provide these basic human needs. So I ask you to use my period poverty project not as an example of what other districts should do, but instead as an example of how providing free menstrual products for students is crucial in creating the safe learning environment that we so often claim to create. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next up, we have another remote testifier, Marit Matson, and then Kathleen Molly. Marit, could you please state your name for the record and proceed?
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Marit Matson and I'm 14 years old. I'm a student at Mankato East High School and I present this statement in support of HF 44, which aims to provide access to free menstrual products in Minnesota school bathrooms. Providing free period products would remove unnecessary stress from students' everyday lives. Every menstruating individual knows what it's like to be caught off guard without the supplies you need, but this does not need to be the reality in our schools. We can provide students with the products they need for a safer, more equitable learning experience. Nobody deserves to worry whether or not they will have access or be able to afford basic hygiene products while they're at school. Right now, it is up to students to help provide for themselves and each other. I'm currently working with a group of other students in my district to plan a period product drive across our schools to make sure that every student has access to the products they need, no matter their financial standing. I'm fortunate enough that this is not a concern for me, but many people are not, and access to period products should not be based on the good fortune of the student. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next up, Kathleen Molly, another remote testifier. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good morning and thank you. Chair Cheryl Joachim and members of the House Finance Policy Committee. My name is Kathleen Molly, and I'm a licensed school nurse right here in St. Paul at Eastham Middle School. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to briefly speak with you today about an important health issue that impacts half of our student population. This statement is in support of HF 44, which would provide access to menstrual products in Minnesota school bathrooms. As a middle school nurse, I assist several students daily that are unexpectedly in need of menstrual supplies. As you can imagine, this is a humiliating experience for my 6th to 8th grade students. In my office, I seek donations and also purchase menstrual supplies to attempt to supply the 300 plus students for when they are in need. The donations and my personal funds are limited and the sustainability is uncertain. Because of financial barriers, some of my students are unable to attend school due to lack of menstrual supplies. This is a very unfortunate and inequitable situation that leads to poor academic outcomes. On the bright side, the menstrual inequity issue can be easily fixed. By providing free menstrual supplies in school restrooms across the state, humiliating situations will be avoided and absenteeism will be decreased. Menstrual supplies are a basic hygienic necessity and should be as readily available to students as toilet paper, paper towels, or hand soap. It's time to move forward with an equitable plan for all students. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony. Next up, we have Dana Clausen. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. My name is Dana Clausen. I live in Farwell, Minnesota, which is near Alexandria. I'm a retired Minnesota educator. For my entire career in education, I've worked in greater Minnesota school districts. I started as a full-time study hall supervisor. I've been a classroom teacher, a program coordinator, and a curriculum director. I'm here to voice my support for providing access to free menstrual products in Minnesota school bathrooms. In this state, we value education. We want all of our students to reach their full potential. The conversations I have with my son and my niece, who are both teachers, often come to a sadly familiar conclusion. We can't teach a student who isn't there. A student should not be forced to stay home from school for multiple days every 4 weeks because her family cannot afford to buy menstrual products for her and she cannot afford them for herself. Period poverty disrupts a student's learning. It causes absences to pile up month after month, negatively impacting a girl's ability to succeed. We can change that by providing simple necessities that are no different from toilet paper or paper towels. We can give our female students period security, allowing them to concentrate on their studies instead of worrying about their menstrual cycles. I ask that you support providing access to free menstrual products in school bathrooms. And I want to thank you for keeping the well-being of our students in mind as you do your important work. Thank you.
Thank you for the testimony, and thank you, our staff that did a great job doing our remote testimony for the first time. Looking forward to more of that later, so we can hear from folks all around the state. So next up, we go back to our in-person testimony with Carolyn Davriel. Sorry, I should have given you a heads up. Please, when you sit down, state your name for the record and proceed.
I'm a school nurse, I don't need any heads up. I just take it as it comes. My name is Carlin Diavro. I usually go by Kari. And I am a licensed school nurse at South Education Center. It's part of Intermediate 287. I am asking for your support for the House File 0044 to access menstrual products for Minnesota kids. Statistics give you information. Stories give you empathy. Action gives respect, justice. For girls under the age of 18 in the United States, 20% of our middle school and high school age students report lack of resources for feminine hygiene products. That means, although math has never been my strong suit, approximately 20 out of 100 girls in school hallways could miss 3 to 7 days each month from school just because they happen to have body parts called ovaries and uteruses. Do you know how much nurse joy it gives me to be able to say these things in front of you? Let's just clear the stigma. Speaking of stigma, there is a stigma against those that identify as female, and it also harms our young men. What message do we give our young men, our boys, our 50% of our future leaders, around topics called respect, consent, human value, human dignity? If basic care items are withheld from 50%, half of their classmates, what message are we giving them? It's not just a female issue. It's a human issue. In order to understand, you must hear stories. I have lots of stories. Every month, kids with good attendance will noticeably be absent from my school. I often will see their friend and say, "Hey, where's so-and-so?" They come back, and then I hear truths, poverty truths, about lack of affordable feminine supplies, housing insecurity, lack of the ability to pay for laundry, to go to the laundromat, transportation, inability to wash soiled clothes. There's many, many barriers when it comes to this issue. Kids will sneak into my office and ask for feminine supplies. They often will leave in my bathroom soiled toilet paper, rolled up socks, younger siblings pull-ups, younger siblings diapers, anything that's covered by WIC. It's in my garbage can, and that's what they're using to come to school. Working with teens from cultures where there is anything that is remotely deemed as sexual is a complete taboo. Many of them don't even have the language when they come to me to ask. They pause, and their eyes are downcast, kind of move their feet around, and I know what they need. They're shamed even to ask for a basic need health necessity. They've received the message not only from home, but also from our schools, that they are less than. They are vulnerable to isolation. They are vulnerable to someone's scorn. For my unique learners, my special education students, financial hardship is brought on by their many, many increased care needs. Often one parent or guardian will be needing to live at home, to be at home, to manage their care and all of their medical necessities. That means financial hardship is a big concern for my special needs students and their families. For my immigrant families, they live in extended family groups. Number one is a protection, but also for financial survival. My students and their families will work nights, weekends, holidays, third jobs to pay for rent. There's no money for the extras. For my kids who are homeless and highly mobile, getting access to a washer and dryer in my office is sometimes the only reason they do come to school. They often will hide behind my desk under a blanket, eating a granola bar, waiting for their clothes to dry. The goal is always to get them to algebra. We stock toilet paper in public bathrooms because, as a child of a forever first grade teacher, favorite book, everyone poops. Last time I checked. But last time I checked, most of you who identify as male are not carrying around an extra roll of toilet paper in case it's not stocked when you need it. You don't have to make sure you have a bag that it fits into, that you can subtly hide it somewhere. Those of you who identify as female more than likely have done the similar thing with feminine hygiene supplies and will pass it off to a friend when needed. Public health dictates we wash our hands before we return to work, but we never stock soap, we never stock paper towels. A normal body function that affects half the school is considered a luxury. For kids to learn, trauma-informed practices states a child must be safe as well to identify and feel like they are a valued member of their school community. For students who are born genetically female, part of safety is providing for their basic body needs. We need to raise our girls to feel empowered while also raising both genders to respect each other in all their beautiful forms. Stocking supplies in a bathroom is a small gesture, but it's the message that is important. It's the message that they are valued. It is the message that their bodies are respected. It is the message that we want them in our classrooms. We want them to be learning. We claim them and we value them at school. The poet Amanda Gorman, a highly intelligent young voice, just like those other voices you are hearing today, says, "A quiet life isn't always peace. What has always been the norms and notations of what just isn't always justice." Stock the bathrooms. Put action behind your words. Being female should not be a barrier to an education. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Members, public had a chance to sign up for testimony as well, and we have 3 folks on that list. We have Kalia Pringle, Noura Mohammed, and Halima Abdullah. So why don't we start with Kalia Pringle? Please come up to the stand and stand. Please come up to testify and state your name for the record. And then if the other 2 want to be ready to go too, that would be great. Am I seeing Kalia? Not seeing Kalia. So next up, we have Noura Mohammed. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Hello, my name is Noura Mohammed and I am a student at Osseo Senior High School, and I provide this statement in support of this bill. As a student, I think that one of the saddest things I witness within school is the lack of period products. Other females my age not being able to come to school because they don't have enough resources to get them throughout the day. I am fortunate to witness that other students at my school take initiative, asking other students to bring in products, collecting necessities for our fellow students. And sure, this lasts, a month, considering my school has over 2,000 students and roughly 1,300 students identifying as female as of this year. But what happens when the supply is low? Constantly depending on the donations from other students is risky, and the turnout has immense differences every time. I am in full support of these efforts. However, I don't believe it should stop with the students, which is why I'm here today. We shouldn't spend our day unsure if what we have is enough to get us through the day, or reliant on other students. Resources within the school should be a necessity. I am here because I want my fellow peers to walk into a restroom with a sense of relief, knowing that no matter what, they are taken care of. I am here, glad to say that I am here, not just on behalf of my school, but for any other female struggling with this very sad reality.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Next up, we have Halima Abdullah. Please come forward, state your name for the record, and then you may proceed.
Hi, my name is Halima Abdullah, and I go to Southwest High School. This is a personal story, and I believe this was about a couple of months ago when an incident happened relating to a lack of period products at my school. I was in the middle of class, and I abruptly had the realization I had gotten my period. I immediately asked to go use the restroom, and as I was walking towards it, I was praying there would be a pad inside, put in there by the kindness of someone's heart, because there are no school-issued period products, nor ones you can purchase. I, of course, found none in there, and I painfully walked awkwardly to the nurse's office across the hall to ask for a pad, and the nurse told me even if they had pads, which they didn't, I would need a special health pass to receive one, and I was nowhere near comfortable asking my male teacher for a pass to get a pad. I had asked about 5 different girls if they had a pad before I received one. My story isn't as nearly as embarrassing or demoralizing as some of my other friends and peers who have had worse incidents relating to lack of period products in the bathroom. If you were to decide to put menstrual products in the bathrooms, so many more students could have less of a negative experience having a period, and will allow menstruating students to not have the burden of worrying where they will get their next period product, so they can continue the rest of their day in school in comfort. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Representative Feist, do you have some words before we move to member questions?
Just would love to thank our testifiers. It's so great to hear the voices of young people on all issues, but especially when it comes to what they need in their classrooms to be at their best and be focused on their education.
Thank you, members. We'll move on to questions then. Representative Edelson.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Feist, and to all your testifiers. I think the last testifier that was up here, I just want to say it was 24 years ago since I was in high school, and I had experiences just like that. And so the fact that we haven't changed the system, that's clearly not working for about half of our population, is a problem. And I just love that young people have led on this. So I'm really looking forward to supporting the bill and voting for it to pass in both bodies this year.
Thank you. I just want to remind folks, this is when we have our testifiers here, so if you have more detailed questions for any of the testifiers, this would be the time to do it. Representative Altendorf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative, for bringing this bill. And thank you to all of the speakers. My goodness, just what a great experience that you are having to be here speaking today. I just wanted to mention a little bit, since this is the Finance Committee, I'm concerned about the $2 per pupil that we're putting on this bill. And I don't know that we've totally flushed out that the expenses of the janitors, that there's going to be additional costs. Also, if we're going to, how we're distributing those, that type of different costs. And so really, in this committee, we need to be really digging deep on the finance issue on this. Now, when I've been out in my district and I'm talking to teachers, I'm talking to administrators, one of the concerns that I have heard over and over is that as a state legislature, that we are doing mandates and they're unfunded, that we are adding mandates that is a new burden on the school systems to maintain and to keep these up, but the funding does not be there. So it might be all with good intention, and yet I'm very concerned on the finance of this, that we are not adequately funding the bill as written.
Representative Feist.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative, for the question. I agree with you. I'm a small business owner. I think we should make smart investments, and I believe this is one. Interestingly, when we look at charts and kind of tried to game out how much we thought this would cost, it is likely that it'll cost even less than the $2 or like, I should say likely, I'm undermining myself, but basically, we don't know, like we calculated it out based on how many students we thought would need these products, how many they would need, how many would be during school hours, during school months. But it is likely that students that are not on free and reduced lunch won't necessarily want to use the generic products. And so we believe that this amount of money is going to cover all of the students who could possibly need these products. And there are a lot of schools across the state of Minnesota that have already done this voluntarily, and they have not found it to be a burden just to have janitors, they're stocking toilet paper, they're stocking, paper towels. This would just be one more thing to throw out. In the bathrooms. And so a lot of schools have done this successfully. They haven't found it to be a burden. And I do believe Tim Strom is a genius. And we worked together. Am I allowed to talk about now? Anyway, we worked really hard on just kind of trying to do the math to make sure that this is like a smart investment. And like I said, it's not just money out. We are saving a lot of money in terms of just keeping kids in school, making sure they're focused, supported. We're not spending extra dollars trying to catch kids up because they're missing school on a regular basis.
Representative Altador, follow-up?
Thank you, Representative. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to reiterate, and it's not that we have a lack of compassion to this, but it is not the government's job, to protect children, to put them in a bubble, and to anticipate every problem that could possibly happen. And so when we're looking right now in the state of Minnesota, and I'm again talking to people in my district, we're very concerned right now of literacy, of scores, and that's really where I would like to see our attention being focused right now. That's a huge concern to me. That's a huge concern to people of my district. And I would really like to see us as a body, as a state legislature, to be focusing, laser focused on how we can bring those scores up and provide the education for our students. So again, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative. I would say yes, and we'll dig in a little bit more. Apparently when we have the fiscal note back, we can have Mr. Strom go over the calculations on how we came to the $2, or Representative Feist can.
Yeah, I apologize if I put Mr. Strom on the,
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll have
But we
Representative Feist
appreciate
do
his
it with Mr. Strom as backup. So next up, we've got Representative Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I have a question for the first virtual testifier, and I'm sorry, I don't remember her name. She had dark, beautiful hair.
Yes, Representative Bennett, it's Evelyn Gore. We can try and see if she's still on. Yes, she is.
Okay. Oh,
She'll come up as soon as she speaks, so go ahead with
Okay.
the question, Representative
thank you, Madam Chair. So my question, Evelyn, did you say?
Yes.
For Evelyn. Evelyn, could you, first of all, I'm really proud of you for stepping up and advocating for your needs and for the needs of the girls in your school district. And I'm very curious how your district has implemented this. You mentioned it a little bit. I think you said the products were available in the gender-neutral bathrooms, but could you tell me, like, are they in all bathrooms, just the gender-neutral bathrooms, and how that works?
The testifier, Evelyn Gore, go ahead.
Yeah, so we had baskets that had tampons and pads in them, and they were in all of the gender-neutral bathrooms. Our school specifically had, I think, 2 or 3 of them. And then we had baskets in all of the girls' bathrooms, and then we kept one basket in one of the men's bathrooms too. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Representative Bennett.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. And, it sounds like from what Representative Feist said that many school districts have already done this voluntarily, and I'm sure just like Evelyn's district, they've done it in a way that fits the needs of their district and how they found it works well. So I'm just wondering why the need for the mandate? I understand the need here with girls and this issue, but sounds like a lot of districts are doing this. Why not provide some funding, whatever it is going to be, that's not designated as a mandate, but here's a little extra money. We want districts who aren't doing this to know that this is a need, and let districts figure out how to solve this issue like they have been. So that's my suggestion, but Representative Feist, why the mandate versus just encouraging districts and providing some funding?
Representative Feist.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the question. And sorry that I ran away. I thought I was done for some reason. Access to period products is a human right, and right now schools are not providing it universally across the board. We also know that schools are struggling with education finance, issues like the special education cross-subsidy deficit, and just in general, there is a great need for an investment of resources in all aspects of our schools and our kids' education. I agree with you. I do not believe in unfunded mandates. And this issue had been around, but there had been proposals to mandate without providing that extra funding. I believe that funding is really important, and if I thought that schools would do it without the requirement, then that would be wonderful, and we'd all be happy that we're meeting our students' basic human rights. But that has not been the case, and so I believe that the structure of this bill is important to making sure that schools do always provide these necessities for students.
Thank you. Representative
follow-up?
Bennett, one more follow-up, and then
Okay.
I've got two more people on the list, and then we're going to move on. And,
Thank you.
And then we'll add Representative Krusha at the end before we move on, so that, or after, sorry. It will go Anderson, Krusha, and then Clardy. So.
Thank you. All right. And thank you, Representative Feist, for that. I agree we shouldn't be doing any unfunded mandates, but also I don't think we should be doing a lot of mandates, period, on our schools. It seems really demeaning to our leaders in our local school districts, our superintendents, administrators, school board members, to think that they can't solve this problem on their own if they're made aware of it. I think some of them just aren't made aware of it. Some have these wonderful young women who've stepped up and said, hey, this is a problem, and they've dealt with it. So as a legislature, instead of saying you have to do it and you have to do it this way, I just feel like more and more we need to encourage, come alongside these people, help them see the issue, and then let them figure out how to solve it. But I'll be quiet. Thank you.
Representative Feist, any follow-up?
Yeah, the superintendents, school administrators, school staff, teachers that I've spoken with have all been very supportive of this legislation and think that it makes sense. So that's the only feedback that I've received directly from schools, and so I believe that this will be welcome funding for a need that students have.
Thank you. We've got Representative, sorry, we keep adding more here. Representative Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Feist. The way I read the language here is that the products are required in, it says must be available in restrooms. So it's required in every restroom used by students, all students, both genders. And I would think that would include things like, porta potties out on the restrooms, out on the track. Am I reading this correctly? And is that the intent, that every single restroom possibly used by a student would need to have this stocked?
Representative Feist.
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the question. I'm just trying to find the exact line. Oh, here, I found it. So it's available in restrooms used by students grades 4 through 12. So in restrooms, I would assume that would not be, porta potties. It would be restrooms, so within the schools. That is what is anticipated. And we do have another hearing next week. And if you feel like language is necessary to clarify that it's in like traditional bathrooms, not porta potties or other random places that students might go to the bathroom outside of school, I'd be open to that language.
Representative Anderson.
Thank you, Representative. I would be willing to work with you to clarify, because the strict reading of this would be even a porta potty on the track. So
Great.
I'll be in
we can work
touch.
together.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll add Representative Bakeberg, and then we'll go to Crucia and Clardy, and then we're going to move on. Representative Bakeberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative Feist. I just have to say that I've had a number of conversations with fellow administrators, and there's great concern about this. We have great compassion for our female students and want to provide those resources, and frankly, are already doing that in a way that fits our district. So there's great concern with the administrators that I've talked to. And I shared early on, one of the reasons that frankly I'm here is because of mandates being forced on schools that don't fully understand the scope of what's going to happen. So we can talk more about the fiscal impact. We're still waiting for the fiscal note. I appreciate the fiscal contribution of the $2, but in talking with superintendents, in talking with principals, that $2 will not be enough. And then taking it further, there's great concern that frankly, this table knows better than a building principal on how to run their building, and that's a significant concern for me. So Representative Feist, I would offer that I would love to work and to come up with a solution on the full fiscal impact on this, so.
Representative Feist.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the question. I do feel fairly confident, and just to, I guess I mentioned it briefly, but so the way we came up with this number again is we looked at the number of students that we expected would need these products. We looked at how often they would need them in school, given that they aren't in school all year round. We looked at the fact that schools would be able to buy these products in bulk, and that actually changed the amount from like 19 million to like 8 million or something. It like dramatically decreased it just because schools have like a purchasing power that's different than individuals. And then again, we looked at students who we thought would probably need these products, and that's not all students who use them. It's basically students on free and reduced lunch are most likely to be the ones who would need these products. And so that was how we came up with the amount. And I do believe it is an informed number. I'm happy to hear from you if you want to add more money. I'm DFLer, we're happy to give more money to schools. But I do want to make sure it's the right amount. And so if you have input on that, I'm happy to connect.
Thank you, Representative. Now we're going to move on to Representative Crucia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm wondering, you've mentioned conversations with superintendents. Is there any of the school groups that would come up? I know we have a number of them here. I'd just love to have a conversation with whoever's willing to come up.
Representative Crucia, maybe we can reach out to them to see if they want to come testify when we have the fiscal note in front of us. Would that work?
Sure. That would
Give
be
them a
fine.
little bit of time to regroup.
Thank you. And so I'll just preview, I'm not looking for a grill here. The biological dignity of this, I think we all agree on. There's no question there. I think what you've heard as well is the need to do this. Schools are already aware of it. Every school I've talked to, they understand the importance of this. There isn't a single school that I've talked to that said, nope, we're not doing this. And they've had the conversations, and we've heard testimony that schools are doing this on their own. And so I applaud the advocacy. I applaud, like I said, bringing this issue up. Where I think we have an ability to actually get to a compromise or get to a better spot is, and what I'll ask the school groups, and since we have this, I'll ask you to come out and testify, because one of the things you said was, Representative Feist, you said, we would just provide the money if I knew all the schools were gonna do this. Well, from what I've heard, all the schools are gonna do this. If we don't believe that, then I wanna hear from the school groups that are gonna tell me they're not gonna do this. Because if we have that level of distrust, we have a bigger problem than what we have here. And so Representative Feist, I mean, if we feel like, because I will bet you if we get the school groups up here and we say to them, we will provide, or the funding will be available, will you solve this? The answer unequivocally will be yes. I'm convinced of that. If not, then we have bigger issues with our schools. That we don't trust our administrators, we don't trust our teachers, and I don't think we're there. And let's not set that scenario up. I mean, a couple of things that I think through as a former working in schools and areas, and Representative Feist, you mentioned, and I'll tell you, this is one of the concerns is, one representative mentioned, hey, let's get a bill or let's get an amendment that narrows the scope of where these products should be, I think that's the wrong thing to do. I think schools should figure that out. As a former track coach, when we were outside or when the Phi Ed teachers are out there are bathrooms and porta potties out there that kids need access to. You don't just have this emergency when you're sitting in math class. You have it, because I've been there, you have it at the starting line of the track. And to say, no, we're not gonna do porta potty. I mean, so what we are overdoing here is we're over managing this, when I believe the compromise position, Representative Feist, and you would get unequivocal probably support, is just to remove the mandate and allow the funding. Now, if we can't because by putting the mandate, what we're essentially saying is, we don't trust the schools to do that. And if that's where we are, that's a bigger problem than what this bill does. So Representative Feist, that's what I would offer up. We're gonna have some testimony next week. I'll put the school groups on notice that, yes, I will be asking you to come up and talk about how you're gonna implement this, how you're gonna deal with, if you're forced to put dispensers in, the damage that will occur. We saw TikTok videos where kids did horrible things with toilets. That costs money. And the question that I'm gonna wanna know from the school groups is, if a simple back of the envelope math, a $1,000 school district, $2 per student, that's $2,000. That, on average, is 15 bathrooms that will cost about $200 per dispenser. You're already behind the 8 ball on the money. And where's the money coming from? Well, according to this, it's coming from the general ed revenue, which is coming out of other areas. So, for lack of better terms, we are now creating a menstrual products cross-subsidy. If that's not the case, school districts, come tell me. Please come testify and say, we're fine with the mandate, and then we'll be fine with mandates across the board. If that's where you are, please signal that so we know how to properly work on a bill for down the road. So Representative Feist, again, and to all the testifiers, amazing job. I applaud the biological dignity. I applaud bringing this to the focus. I don't think we are going to solve it as well as the folks that are working. To all the advocates, go to your school boards, go to your superintendents, and we'll support you with the funding.
Representative
No further
Feist, brief follow-up, then I'm going to go to Representative Clardy, then we're going to move on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question and then some follow-up. My question to Representative Grisha is, your proposal that we add $2 on the formula and then we let schools use that $2 per pupil for period products?
Representative Grisha.
Madam Chair and Representative Feist, thank you. My proposal is, you are going to be putting a funding bill together. I think you should, as part of that, make sure there's enough funding, and then there's a strong indication, and MDE can do that. They send out weekly notes that this should be covered. All the schools know this. What the school's problem is, they have so many constraints of so many other things. And I'll be honest, you mentioned buying in bulk. Every superintendent I talk to, and I have some very close people to this, my 4 daughters and my wife in my ear, and they've all said, if you buy in bulk and it's bad quality products, we're not using them. Their exact words, they don't work, they hurt, and conversations so what I'm worried about, I will tell you my fear. I'm worried you're gonna put a mandate on the schools where they're gonna buy in bulk that's not gonna be accessible because dispensers are gonna get knocked down and broken, and they're gonna buy this like paper products, which is the lowest quality, and we haven't actually solved the problem, which is the biological dignity that these students are asking for. That's what I'm worried about. When it becomes a big thing, it becomes lesser quality.
Representative Feist quickly, and then Representative Clardy.
Quickly, I have so much to say. Thank you. First of all, in response, just to clarify, we are not requiring dispensers. Dispensers they can be vandalized. They also are very expensive, like really expensive. And the schools that have done this have generally just provided baskets. And in those schools, we've just seen really positive results that, they haven't been vandalized, that they've been available for students as they've needed them and have been able to be kept stocked. I trust schools want to do what's right for our students, but the fact is that they are not providing these products now. Even though students have been rising up across the state of Minnesota asking for these products. This is not a new issue, it just happens to be new to me as of the last year and a half. And so while I love working with our schools and I support them, They have not shown that they are willing to do this. And as I've said, this is a necessity and a human right. And we do not want schools to have to choose between all of the many very important things that they invest their dollars in, mental health supports, literacy investments. Like, we want them to be able to do it all, and we want students to be there to learn, and they need these period products in order to be there.
Thank you. Representative Clardy.
Thank you, Chair Yukim. Thank you, Rep. Feist. I guess I'm approaching this as a teacher. I've been teaching for 27 years. I've been on the school board. I'm a mom. With all those components, I think that it's not just a poverty issue. I've worked in schools of poverty. I've been in the school board of, a very decent school district that has not had poverty issues. But some of our legislators have mentioned literacy. That is key. So if you look at a student missing school, like 27 days, at least 27 days a year, it could have an effect on graduation rates. It could have an effect on just their ability to be able to graduate. So I think that the testifiers here today, in person, and the ones online, they're the experts. They're living the reality right now. They're talking boldly from their heart and also just from their pure experience. So I think we need to definitely consider the literacy that was mentioned. I'm a literacy expert. I've been teaching specifically literacy. And if my kids miss 3 days a month, it affects them at some point in their education. So I just thank you for bringing this bill. I'm supporting it 100%.
Thank you, Representative Clardy, and thank you, Representative Feist. I think we're just going to lay this bill over, and you'll have following comments when we bring this up next week, and we're going to move on.
Madam
So,
Chair, just a very quick
Representative
technical. We don't have the bill in front of us. We can't actually lay it over.
I did move it in
correct?
front of us, Representative Creasy.
Okay, so if we moved it and we had an author's amendment, did we,
We did not take up the.
so we're
author's
not doing it
amendment.
right now?
We'll do that next week.
Thank you. Just want to
Yep.
make sure.
Thank you, Representative Creasy. With that, thank you, Representative Feist.